All right, let's get this shindig started. We got a decent crowd. I'm sure there will be more as we move along. Dave Wills, thank you so much for being here. Sorry for our tardiness.
No worries.
We had to get the SABR gods to let somebody host the meeting so that we could move forward. And we're here. How does it look, Dave? 2023?
Well, I mean, I'm like a lot of Rays fans. I'm still kind of waiting for us to add another bat or two, unless, like I said, in the 13th, 14th, and 15th innings of the game, game two, that unless we figure out how to get the Guardians to -1, I don't think we're going to win this game. So, but in Eric, we trust. I know that they're. The way that we started this whole thing back in 2008 and started to move to where we're at right now is about the run prevention. And I think that we're in a pretty good spot with that. Zach Eflin's a nice young pitcher. We're not looking him to be a number 1 or a number 2, maybe not even a number 3, but a guy that can fill the bottom part of the rotation, give us some innings, maybe take a little bit of a load off the bullpen every once in a while and just elongate that starting staff. So, I look at the numbers. The projections still have us as one of the top 3 or 4 teams win-wise. Another big question is, as it always is every year with a young team, are you going to be a year older or are you going to be just a year better? And I think we're waiting to see. I know we're putting a lot of weight on Wander Franco being a year older and a year better and a year healthier.
Is he healthy?
Yes, yeah. And a lot of things. Same thing with Brandon Lau. Can we keep Brandon Lau on the field and maybe shifting him over to first base, to take a little poundage of going back and forth in second base might be able to keep him a little bit healthier, because when he is going well, he's a unique talent for a guy that's not that big that can provide the pop he has. And then some of the offensive guys, again, Yandy and, Paredes and Josh Lowe was a guy that a year ago at this time, I was hearing from people that were with the White Sox AAA affiliate that said, you guys can say all you want about Wander Franco being a great player, but Josh Lowe is going to be a superstar. And I was like, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, he's got the body type. He can run, he can hit, he can throw. When we opened up the lane for him, when we traded Austin Meadows, everybody said, well, he can run better than Austin. He can hit better than him. He can hit for power. Well, he did hit a little bit better than Austin because Austin just didn't hit last year. But at the end of the day, he was not what we expected him to be. So a lot of questions that need to be answered. It's going to be a tough spring to get a lot of those questions answered, with the fact that we're not going to be in Port Charlotte, that we're going to be part of the time in Orlando and then part of the time at Tropicana Field, and with half our team playing for the Dominican or Team USA or Team Cuba or what have you. It's going to be a very, very interesting spring training for the Tampa Bay Rays, and leading into what could be, again, a very interesting 2023 season in a division that only seems to be getting tougher. You always know that the Yankees are going to be there, but again, the Red Sox haven't done a whole lot this offseason. But the Baltimore Orioles came out of nowhere last year to do what they did and seem to be on the upswing, and then the Blue Jays are kind of continuing to add to their roster. So the American League East did not get any easier during this past offseason.
Yeah, that's for sure. How do you feel about, or what's the talk about the loss of Kevin Kiermaier? An established veteran, a leader. How do you think that's going to affect you guys? And do you think somebody's going to step up?
Well, I mean, again, Kevin was a great piece of the puzzle here for the last several years. Obviously, a guy that was an elite defender out there in center field, did some things out there that we have never seen before. And we had some pretty good outfielders in the past. B.J. Upton was a plus defender out there in center for a number of years. But KK was special. He can go get it. People always said, well, he doesn't really dive for a lot of baseballs. That's because he gets such great jumps, and he was actually pulling up a lot of times to make catches that were 25, 30% catch probability because of his great reads. So, when he was healthy, he was maybe the best defensive center fielder going in the game. But unfortunately, the last few years have kind of taken a toll on him. And I just know how we work. We weren't going to pay $12 or $13 million for a guy that right now is only playing about 90 games a year. And so I'm going to miss him. He was a great quote. I'm sure Mark Tompkins going to maybe miss him too. I mean, Kevin was a great guy to get on the post game shows, because all you had to do was ask him one question and he talked for 5 minutes and then you were done. But, it was one of those things where I think we've become friends off the field as well. One of my favorite all-time Tampa Bay Rays. I wish him the best of luck in Toronto, except for the 14 times we play them this year. And I hope that he stays healthy first and foremost. I wish Kevin a lot of luck, but Jose Siri is an interesting bird, both as a player and as a person. And he's a guy right now that Todd Callis, when we traded for him, Todd had watched him for parts of a couple of seasons with the Houston Astros, and Todd called him the most elite defensive center fielder that he has ever seen, and that included KK. Now, my eyes didn't see a lot of that, most of that during the time that we had him. I thought he was a really, really good outfielder. He's got a good arm. He can go get it, but there were plays that I thought that Kevin Kiermaier would make that Jose Siri did not. And then he did make a couple of nice plays as the season went along, but the jury's still out on Jose. He's got a big swing. He's got a lot of big miss. When he shortened up his swing, he started getting a better average, but it took away his power. So there's a lot of projections and a lot of numbers from Fangraphs and the people out there that think he's ready to have a breakout season, and we shall see. I know that, again, his offseason has been kind of interesting too, where the one thing I saw a couple of months ago or about a month ago was his blow up against an umpire. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's a very emotional guy. And you know what? Just like when Kevin was going good offensively, if Jose Siri goes good offensively, he can do things that a lot of guys on our team can't, because he can hit for power. He can run the bases as well as anybody that I've seen lately. He can go first to third, first to home as well as anybody in the league. And he can create a little havoc on the bases, which could also be kind of interesting this year with the bigger bases, cutting down the path to second base for stolen bases by a couple of inches. We'll see how that all plays out.
It looks like, without using the R word, rebuilding, it looks like they're spending a lot of money in South America. They just signed that right fielder, Braylor Guerrero. Young kid, 16, but big. I guess he's 6'1", 185, and they invested half their bonus pool in him, $3 million plus. Do you think we're going to see a lot of call-ups this year from the minors as they go through A ball and double A? And is that the plan or part of the plan?
Well, I think obviously we're going to lean on a lot of young guys to help us out this season, since we couldn't find that right guy offensively, free agent wise. I know that we went after Brandon Belt pretty aggressively. And from what I understand, if you play the game of Florida taxes versus Canada taxes and everything else like that, our package to Brandon Belt might have even been better than what he got from the Blue Jays. But I guess what I read somewhere is he said that Toronto has the best chicken nuggets or chicken tenders that he's ever had in his life.
Yeah,
there. So,
I read that.
Chicken tenders, I guess they can win you over. I don't know. I mean, I've been to Toronto a lot, and I've never really found anything great food-wise up there. Maybe I better try the chicken tenders. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to be counting on Vidal Brujan. Again, we're going to be counting on Taylor Walls to do a better job than he did this past season. He's an elite defender, but it was really tough watching him hit, especially on the road when you're hitting 100 on the road. That's not going to win a lot of ball games. We're back to, like I said, trying to win games where we're holding the other opponent to negative runs. So we need both of those guys to be not only a year older, but a year better. Curtis Mead is a kid that we've got some high hopes for from Australia that we picked up. And he's been a guy that's moved through our organization. And I think they're looking for him to probably be a guy that contributes sometime during the year. And then there's obviously got to be a couple of other guys down there. Jonathan Aranda won the AAA, I think, MVP this past season. And he came up with a lot of hype as far as being a guy that with really, really good bat to ball skills and really kind of finished the season with a thud. So, all those guys are guys that we're going to be counting on to provide us some more offensive pop, if you will, going into this 2023 season. And there still may be a trade involved. I think that, we do have, I know the old saying is when you think you have enough pitching, you go out and you get more.
Go get more.
Right now, we feel like we do have a good depth in that regard. But we've always been really, really good at, and maybe to our, detriment, where we know we have a feeling when a pitcher has reached his plateau, and we have a tendency to move him and hopefully get something in return. Now, 29 other major league teams have figured that out, I think, a little bit too, that if the Rays are trading a pitcher, there's got to be a reason why the Rays are trading a pitcher. So we'll see if that plays out here over these next few weeks. But, there, as always, there's going to be a lot of movement between AAA and the big leagues, maybe even AA and the big leagues. And, we don't really see a lot of guys come all the way up from A-ball to AA and AAA and make it to the big leagues. But, the Rays, every year I say the same thing. Each of the last couple, 2 or 3 years, I said, you know what? In order for the Rays to compete with the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays, we have to stay healthy. We have to stay off the IL. And every year we're using 65 players and 35 pitchers. And somehow, some way, this team still gets to the postseason.
That's crazy.
Dave,
And go ahead.
My name's Sam Rich.
Hi, Sam.
I'm a Pirates fan, and I have never gotten over how the Rays took the Pirates over on the Archer trade. But here's my question: we have picked up Troy, and I was very impressed with Troy when I saw him in some games in Tampa. Does he have anything left?
Well, I think the first thing he has to do is get healthy. He had some, like a pitcher does every once in a while, some loose bodies in his elbow. I can't remember if it's his left elbow or right elbow offhand. I have it in front of me, but he had some loose bodies in there that were bothering him a lot last season, which bothered him with a little bit of extension with his swing. And, you could see how it really affected him as the season went along. He was a guy that in the past that would get off the slow starts with us and then just take off once June or July came, and was one of our better second half hitters. I think the injury or the loose bodies in his elbow really affected his play offensively, especially. And then I think, like some guys do, he brought that out to him in the field as well. You go back to the 2019, 2020, 21 seasons, G-Man Choi was a big part of the Rays' success, and one of the reasons why we did what we did. And, he's a great influence in the clubhouse, a fun guy to be around. But I think last year, because of injury and, again, he was having a little trouble catching up to fastballs. When you get to that American League East and you're facing rotations that have 2 and 3 guys in there that are throwing 97 and 100 miles an hour all the time, you got to be able to catch up to fastballs. And he was one of the guys that, him and Yandy were the 2 guys that we always counted on to put together big league at bats, elongated bats, get pitchers, like some of the big names that he's always had success against, like Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, and the like. And he just couldn't do it last year. So I wish him the best, but I think the biggest thing with him is to be healthy. If he's healthy, I think he can help the Pirates out a lot.
When I saw him last June, he seemed to be very good at drawing walks, among other things.
Well, he puts together a big league at bat. He does. And, he's one of those guys that he's not always going to go up there and take a pitch, but he's going to, as he's even said to us, sometimes everybody says, well, you take the first pitch. He goes, I don't always look to take the first pitch. I'm just looking for a good pitch on the pitch. So, when he's healthy and feeling good, I think that's when he does become a better than average player. I wouldn't call him an elite guy by any stretch, but I would call him a guy that could help you win some ball games. And like I said, give you a big league at bat, because he's got a pretty good structured strike zone. When he's feeling good, he can drive the baseball. Again, when he's feeling healthy, he can catch up the pretty good fastballs as well.
As you just said, Dave, you look at the starting 8 and they're solid. They've got hell of an infield, hell of an outfield, quick, young, guys who now have 2 years, 3 years experience, fun team to watch. It's all about the depth with them.
I think it's the depth, and it's also the thump. I think what we saw in the postseason, especially with the pitching the way it is right now, where, it's hard to get 7 or 8 guys, running through an inning to really get those long rallies going against elite pitching. So when an elite pitcher makes a mistake, you got to have people up there that get the ball out of the ballpark. And I think that really hurt us last year, especially from the left side. I think I looked I wish I had the number in front of me because I know we talked about it toward the end of last season, but our left-handed thump totally went away when Brandon Lau got hurt and when KK wasn't in the lineup very much. And I think from September 1st or even August 15th to the end of the season, I think we had like 4 home runs hit by left-handed hitters, and 2 of them were by one guy. So, I mean, you need to have a little more thump in our lineup. I'd love to see Yadi become a little more of a thumper. Again, Brandon Lau can provide that. Jose Siri, when he's, when he's got that big swing, can do that. But, again, Paredes did it, was a little bit of a surprise last year for us. And then I still think that, Wander's biggest issue for me, and I've talked to Kevin Cash about it, is that he has such elite bat to ball skills that he thinks he can get to almost anything. And so instead of having more of a discerning eye at the plate, he could take a pitch down or away and put the ball in play that probably 60, 70% of big leaguers can't do anything with. And honestly, he probably can't do a whole lot with it other than put it in play and hit a ground ball out. So he's got to, I think, have a little more of a discerning eye about what he can and can't do, what he can drive. But I think at the end of the day, is he going to be a 30 homer guy? Probably not. But as he grows and, who knows, could he become the next Jose Ramirez or a guy like that? I'd raise my hand right now and say, I'll take Wander Franco as the next Jose Ramirez.
And you have a very good starting 5. Very solid. Obviously, you just picked up another reliever. That's going to help. How about in the minors? Durham and down there, anything good?
Well, Taj Bradley's a kid that we've been keeping a very close eye on. He was just ranked as one of the top young pitchers in all of baseball by Baseball America and MLB.com. And he's a guy that I wouldn't be surprised if everything continues to progress like they anticipate him to continue to grow, to see maybe sometime in, June, July, or a little more toward the end of the season, again, to maybe fill a spot, whether it be in the rotation or maybe a guy to come out and throw some BBs out of the bullpen. But there's always going to be a couple of guys. There's a Colby White kid that they were very, very high on going into 20 that, they thought was going to be a guy that they could call up for the postseason into 2021. As a matter of fact, he went A-ball, AA, AAA, and his metrics were absolutely incredible to the point where I was surprised we didn't call him up toward the end of 2021. And then going into last year, made an appearance at spring training, was all over the place, didn't look very good. And then a couple of days later came up and had to have Tommy John surgery. But they're hoping for him to maybe be somebody that could come up and help us here come in June. And, these are questions that, I look at them. I probably should have brought Neil with me because Neil memorizes our Dominican Summer League team, our Venezuelan Summer League team. He knows everybody that's going to go to Bowling Green. There are times where, honestly, where I'll be in a speaking situation with Eric Neander, and somebody will ask him a question about the minor leagues, and Eric Neander will have Neil answer that question because he knows that Neil has the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So, obviously we're built around pitching. Shane Boz was a guy who's that we've had very, very high hopes for, but obviously he's going to be out probably the entire season after him having his Tommy John surgery. But there's always going to be a couple of guys down there that we've seen go from. I just heard one of our VPs of baseball during our meeting this morning say something to the effect that we were following a 16-year-old kid that last spring at this time was throwing 82, and then by the end of summer was up to 92 to 96. So they've been keeping a very close. I'm sure there's a couple more of those guys, as always, that we have down in spring training that we'll see, whether it's in Orlando or at Tropicana Field or one of the places here and on the Gulf Coast, that will open up our eyes and probably be a big part of the Rays' success, hopefully, here in 2023.
Guys, the floor is open. If you have a question for Dave, ask away.
Hey, I was going to follow up on what Sam was saying before and ask Dave. I can't remember who I read that wrote this, but they said that provided G-Man is healthy, that he stands to benefit more than anybody else in major leagues with the shift being taken away. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt him. Obviously most left-handed power hitters should see some kind of a bump with that shift being taken away. I think, again, maybe looking back at his numbers from 2021 and 20, might help out. Last year, he just had trouble putting the ball in play
Right.
with any kind of authority, especially over the last 3 or 4 months. So shift or no shift, I think he was going to have some troubles. But, like I said, if he's healthy, he can get that full extension. He's got a very discerning eye, like I said. I wish him the best. I really do. And not only because of him, but then it might help our buddy Derek Shelton, who's the manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah.
I've gotten to know Derek, obviously, for the last decade plus, and he's one of my favorite baseball people. So I'm hoping that some people step up for him. But, going back to that trade with Chris Archer, it reminded me a little bit of an old kind of message my old basketball coach used to say about, you hope that maybe something to the effect that, you get from him what he thinks he's worth. And Chris Archer was a pretty darn good pitcher, but had fallen on some tough times. But for us to get it, we would have probably walked away from that trade with one or maybe two of them. And when they came at us with Shane Baz at the end to try to put us over the top, even Stu Sternberg has said a couple of times where he goes, I felt bad because I like those guys. I mean, I really did.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was really was and we kind of allowed that trade to happen. If you go even a step further, when Corey Dickerson got DFA'd the year before, we sent Corey Dickerson then to the Pittsburgh Pirates. We kind of blocked the lane for Austin Meadows by sending Corey Dickerson there. So, there's that old saying where, some guys are playing checkers and some guys are playing chess. I don't know if we did it deliberately or what, but sending Corey Dickerson to the Pirates, kind of blocked a little bit of a lane for Austin Meadows to come up to the big leagues. And I remember, and RV could probably attest to this, Austin was up with the Pirates for a little while when they played the Cubs early on in that year. And Joe Madden felt that, Austin Meadows could have been Rookie of the Year if everything had gone his way and would have been able to get some more playing time. So it really was a huge, huge trade for the Rays. And obviously there's a couple guys on the Pirates that are looking for new gigs because of that trade.
What's
You
the
know,
news?
We don't want
the
a big
news on-
trade. Everybody always talks about you win trades. And again, I could probably defer to RV when we made the Will Myers trade for James Shields a number of years ago, going back to 12 or 13. Everybody was saying that, the Rays, again, totally beat up the Royals on the trade. And Andrew Friedman at the time was trying to get the message out. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we try to do. We're trying to make trades that can help both teams. And, we've had our fair share of moves that haven't worked out as well. So, yes, we've had some high profile ones that have worked, but there have been a few too that I'm sure we'd love to have back.
Any news on moving the team? New stadium, Tampa, anything?
Well, the whole redevelopment of Tropicana Field is in the process right now, and it's in the hands of the mayor of St. Petersburg. We have given our best option with the Heinz Group. You've got a couple other groups that are right now at the table as well with the mayor. And from what I've read in the paper and from what I found out from our front office, we're waiting on January 30th when Mayor Welch gives the speech, the State of the City address. He is supposed to name which group that he wants to align with and go with. We feel like our proposal with Heinz dots every I and crosses every T. But even if they were to say that, okay, that's where we're going with the Heinz Rays group, there's still the funding and everything else that has to come into play. And how are you going to, who's going to pay for what and where and when? So that would have to be done then by September or October of 2023. So there's still some hoops to jump through there. And at the same time, it's public knowledge. We're still talking to Tampa. So we haven't left Tampa out of the equation. We're talking to St. Pete, we're talking to Tampa. And, I live on the Tampa side. I live up in Lutz. People around here think I work in St. Petersburg, Russia, because I travel 37 minutes to a ballpark on a daily basis. And they don't know how I do it. But, I'm originally from Chicago, and anything under an hour commute wise isn't a bad thing. And, it's an easy ride for me, especially when I do it. And honestly, if everything was equal, dollar wise and everything else like that, I think the ballpark, I think most people know the ballpark belongs on the Tampa side. I think that, when you draw that 30-minute circle around where Tropicana Field is, 2/3 of it's water. And I used to say that about our radio station. When we first got down here in 2005, we were on 1250 AM. and you drew the circle around you gave the radio frequency, and we were huge with the Manatees and the Dolphins. They loved listening to Andy and I. But my wife couldn't get the games up here in Lutz.
Yeah.
So, it was one of those things where, again, whether it belongs on the waterfront somewhere in downtown Tampa, or in this day and age, and again, it might be a pipe dream. And I know, RV's probably heard my story about this. They're building sports books next to these ballparks all over the country now. And I just think that somewhere where the amphitheater is out there on I-4 and I-75 with a crosswalk across the highway and a sports book built up against a beautiful new ballpark with, again, if you move the amphitheater out of there and you got 40,000 seats, or, Luke Bryan and, Chris Stapleton and whoever else, Jay-Z to come in and watch concerts inside a ballpark that could be enclosed and air conditioned. I think it would be a win-win for everybody. But also the downtown situation where we can bring the Water Street, Emily Arena situation along with Ybor or somewhere close, to start to bring it together and make downtown really a vibrant place. That could also be a possibility. But we've got to get closer to where the moms, the dads, the Wallies and the Beavers are, the river views. I went to a Lightning game last year, and I was talking with people from Lakeland and from Orlando who go to games every day, all the time. Now, obviously, they play half the games that we do, but it doesn't matter if it's a Monday, Wednesday, or Sunday, they'll go to a game. They said they'll only go to Rays games on Saturdays and Sundays. So we play twice as many games, and they'll go to a third the amount because of the traffic through downtown Tampa. So we got to figure something out. If indeed we want to be able to get more people over to wherever our ballpark is going to be.
Yeah, we've outgrown the infrastructure, obviously. 18% growth in Tampa Bay area every year for the last 5 years without growing the infrastructure as so. And I agree with you, where you are up in Lutz and even Wesley Chapel and Odessa and those areas, they're growing so fast. Trinity,
Yep.
I mean, they're huge. Putting a ballpark up that way is definitely a better way to go. And
I'd even take spring training. There was some talk over the summer about having a spring training complex in Pasco County. And if I never have to go down I-75 again to Port Charlotte, which I'm doing this weekend, by the way, to go see some good friends who I won't be able to see this spring. I'm going to go down there to hopefully have dinner with a few people and, say hi to some folks that I usually spend all of March or a lot of March with. But, again, get up to Pasco County and, again, I think our original plan to kind of expand our footprint in this market, that was the original idea of going down to Pasco County. But I think we've outgrown, or going down, I should say, to Port Charlotte, but I think we've outgrown that complex. And now it's going to cost tens of $millions to repair to get it back up to snuff. And, there's other things too that have to be repaired and replaced down there. And I'm not sure in the pecking order of things where our ballpark lands in Port Charlotte.
Gotcha. Anybody else? Anybody have anything?
1,000 things.
Yes, I got a question.
Go.
Do you think we'll ever see Brendan McKay playing with the Rays? He's been in the organization for the last 6 years, and unfortunately, he's been hurt. He came up as a pitcher and a first baseman, or he was drafted as a pitcher, first baseman. But we haven't seen very much of him on the major league level. And the fact is, he's going to be out for a while, and they did an awful lot in order to try to protect him, to bring him back on the roster. What plans do you think the Rays actually have for him, considering all the time that he's missed?
We're doing everything we can to get him back into the big leagues. I mean, obviously, we had to do some clerical maneuvering to, cut him, get him off the roster, and get him back on a minor league roster. And we had to do some finagling so that we could hold on to him for more than just the coming year, and then possibly lose him while he just rehabs. When we drafted him, we had some really, really high hopes for this guy. He was a top tier pitcher. And they also, at that time, I remember Kevin Cash saying that when he was coming up through our minor league system, as quick as it was, he was our best left-handed power hitter in the organization. So I think everything shifted last year, though, where they were really telling him, let's just concentrate on pitching. And unfortunately, he was, instead of throwing the 97, 98 that we had seen when we drafted him when we first came up, we were seeing 92, 93. And I think that led to the shoulder issues, which ultimately led to the surgery. So it's a very tricky situation with him. Like I said, our staff, one of the reasons why we do get some guys that are from other teams, they've heard the great stories about our training staff and how they have a tendency to bring these guys back and get guys back on the mound from some devastating injuries, whether it's a Tommy John or a shoulder problem or what have you. So they're going to do everything they can because they know he is a pretty unique talent. I think the hitting part right now, as far as I know, was out the door. But, again, if maybe he has any issues coming back from the shoulder and can't throw and can't get the fastball velocity back to where you think you can get big league guys out, maybe he gives the hitting one more shot. But we did a lot of maneuvering and some clerical work to make sure we can get him back for not just this year while he's being rehabbed, but to have him available to us come next season as well.
Okay, thanks.
Dave, I just finished reading John Feinstein's Where Nobody Knows Your Name about the minor leagues. I'm a huge proponent of the minor league systems and organizations. With teams going to South America, the international draft, things like that, the college draft, how do you think the Tampa Bay Rays minor league system is stacking up? And are they putting that much emphasis into it? Obviously signing a lot of Latin ball players, right out of the South American organizations. What are your thoughts on that?
We've always, as far as I know, we've always been very, very high on player development. Obviously, you have to pick one. You're either going to go in and try and build your team around free agency, or you have to do it by player development. I think obviously player development's the hand that we choose because at certain times it's a little less expensive. Although when you're signing 16-year-olds to $3 and $4 million contracts, that's a bit risky as well. But at the end of the day, we had as many minor league franchises, I think, or organizations under our umbrella as any team as you could possibly have. We used to have, in addition to just the usual AAA and AA, I think we had 3 or 4 A-ball teams. We had short season teams. We had teams in Hudson. We had a couple of short season teams. We had a couple of full season teams, and then we have the Florida Complex League team now. And so we're big proponents of the minor leagues. Minor leagues is going to be kind of interesting to watch here now with again the organization of the Players Association trying to get their umbrella over the players now. Some of the development properties. I helped start the Kane County Cougars back in 1991. I was the third person hired in December of 1990, and I was working out of a house that was outside of the right field wall that was part of the Forest Preserve complex, and going to places in downtown Geneva, Illinois, and trying to sell minor league baseball. And the owner of the Cellular One company would say, well, I've got a 10-year-old son. Is he going to be able to play for the Kane County Cougars? And, they had no concept of what minor league baseball was. And we had to teach them that. And then we, went and had a 3,600 seat stadium in 1991 and averaged 4,300 fans a game. And then we put 4,800 seats in there and we averaged 5,200. Then we put 5,600 seats the next off season and averaged over 6,000. So, I'm a big, big fan of the minor leagues, and they're now using it as development too, where I'm watching the Durham Bulls as we speak, rebuild their clubhouse level and their interior, batting cages, because it's now more than just sending 25 players there and saying, let them go play baseball for 6 months and we'll see how they turn out. They want these guys now to have the pitching labs. They want these guys to have indoor tunnels. So if it's a bad day outside, they can still get their work in on a daily basis. And they're not only at AAA, but they're doing it AA and A ball as well. It's one of the reasons why the Kane County Cougars right now don't have a big league affiliate, because they did not keep up with some of the player development needs of their big league team. So I think the Rays really do it as you know, as much as anybody. And the other part too is coaches and staff. I mean, I see Rick Vaughn in my picture, and I'm sure he could attest that. And I know how it was when I was there. In 1991, we had a manager, we had a coach, and we had a pitching coach and a trainer. That's it. And one of my teams, the coach was a roving infield instructor. Rich Dower went from team to team. So there'd be weeks where we wouldn't even have him as a coach with us. Well, now every team has a pitching coach, hitting coach, manager, bench coach, another. I mean, they have strength and conditioning guys at the minor leagues. There are the list of development people around Major League Baseball teams has grown exponentially over the last handful of years, and they have somebody to talk to about everything. So we're as deep in the minor leagues, I think, as any team in Major League Baseball, and I think we'll continue to be that way because we know we're not going to get better, or we know we can't compete with the Mets, the Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Yankees and the like by going after free agent sluggers. We're going to have to develop our own, or at least try to.
As the Billy Bean character said in Moneyball, there's them, and then there's a pile of shit, and then there's us. And but the fact of the matter is that the Rays have done so well the last 6-8 years competing, being one of the lowest 5 payrolls in MLB. And I think a lot of that has to do with their minor league system. I really like Brady Williams as the manager at Durham now, younger, working with younger players. And I think it's going to really help you guys.
Well, and then we just brought Brady up. Brady's going to coach at the big league level now this season.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
There have been some moves, and with again, Matt Quatrero moving on to the Kansas City Royals, and he took Paul Hoover with him. It opened up a couple of spots on our major league coaching staff. So Brady's going to be part of the big league coaching staff this year. I think Jared Sandberg, who had been with us for a while at the minor league level, was a former player with us, went out to Seattle for a few years. He's now coming back, and he's going to be part of the organization coaching wise. So, when you look at what we have done, this team being at the bottom, 25% of payroll for the last several years in a non-salary cap league, to be able to get to the postseason to win 100 games, it's been absolutely incredible. And, it's tough because, I think back to when I first got here in 2005. I remember in my interview, which, I probably owe Rick Vaughn a drink here in like a day or two, because I think it might actually be right now, which was the anniversary of me going to St. Pete, or getting a call from him to go out there for my interview in St. Pete. I left Chicago in 2 inches of snow on a Friday morning, landed in Tampa, 75-degree weather. Rick Vaughn picked me up, came in for my interview. I'm wearing a suit and tie. I'm sweating. It's hot. And then I get done with my interview. I get back to Chicago. There's 3 more inches of snow on the ground. And then the next day I'm driving up to Green Bay, Wisconsin to do a basketball game in a whiteout. And I'm like, this place stinks. So we're right around that anniversary of coming down for my interview with Rick Vaughn and a couple other people for this gig. But I remember going to that meeting, 2004, they were coming off a 70-win season, and they popped champagne. And I went back and I looked at our 1-loss record. I looked at this, and I remember going into a couple meetings, and we turned 13 of these 24 one-run games into wins. And we do this, we're looking at like 84, 85 wins. Well, 2005 didn't quite work out that way. 2006 was worse. 2007 might have been worse. And then finally in 2008, it got better. And I remember doing a speech with Scott Fransky when we went back up to our minor league team, the Kane County Cougars, for their winter caravan. And Scott gets up there and he's like, I've been doing the Phillies for 3 years now, and we've only been out of playoff race for 1 game. And he said, I did the Kane County I did the Tampa Bay Rays for 5 years now. And I remember we were eliminated in March a couple of years. So, it's not fun for some of these teams, obviously, to how can you be a fan of the Oakland A's right now? How hard would that be? I mean, to watch what the A's are doing to that group that had been in the postseason and been a very, very, competitive team, and more so than that, for a long, long time, to watch that team get absolutely dismantled. And even, for a couple of years there, watching the Chicago Cubs team that prints money and was purposely trying to lose and turn things around. So that to me, that's a little bothersome, because hope always sprung eternal. I watched a lot of really bad Chicago White Sox teams over the years growing up on the south suburbs of Chicago. And, we didn't do anything until 1983, but there at least a few years I thought we had a chance. But, to grow up some of these fans right now of teams that are, right now they're almost guaranteed to lose 100, 110 games. Baseball's got to fix that. I don't know how they do it, whether it's a salary cap or a salary floor or whatever, but it'd be really, really hard to be a fan of a team where come March 1st and you're like, we're going to lose 110 games.
Dave, again, this is Sam Rich. I'm from Pittsburgh, and I don't feel sorry for anybody else. I became a fan. I became a fan in 1946, and we didn't have a winning season until 1958. I mean, I say winning, more wins than losses.
Yes. Well, I grew up in Chicago, and I was born in 1964. The Bears won the World Championship in 63. The Blackhawks won in 61. The White Sox went to the World Series in 59. The Cubs in 45. So from 64 till I think 70, maybe 67 or whatever. The White Sox, I think, played till the last week of the season one of those years. Then had a plus 500 year in 72. But there wasn't a baseball playoff team in Chicago until 1983. I was 19 years old. And I think of these kids here in Tampa Bay who, over these last couple of years, watched a football team win a Super Bowl, watched a hockey team win 2 Stanley Cups, and watched a baseball team go to the World Series. And I'm thinking, these kids must be walking around going, this happens all the time. No big deal. I mean, they don't really know what it's like to suffer through, like probably most of us did as kids watching some of our teams, unless we were born, obviously, in New York or what have you.
Yeah. Thomas, you have something there? Nope.
Hey, I did. Dave, you mentioned flying past Kane County Cougars. Do I remember they were a Marlins affiliate on the way to the Marlins getting into the bigs?
Yes, we were. We started out with the Orioles in 1991. We were with the Orioles for the 91 and 92 season, and then we shifted to the Marlins in 1993, and they were with the Marlins for several years after that. And then I think they went from the Marlins maybe to the A's, then to the Royals and Cubs.
Oh, okay.
And then the last few years before they got out of it, they were with the Diamondbacks. But Kane County was just, like I said, it was really a great place. And I was fortunate to be one of the first hires, doing radio. I actually wasn't even 100% sure I was going to do radio. I was the head baseball coach at the University of Chicago in 1990. And they knew more about splitting atoms than throwing split-fingered fastballs. That's one of those things. But, I kind of grinded my way through that year and really enjoyed it. I was 24, 25 years old and had a blast. And I called my pitching coach, who was a manager in Wausau, Wisconsin, for the Orioles minor league system. And I said, hey, would you be a reference on my resume? And he said, no. And I said, wait.
Wow.
I thought we were buddies. And he said, no, I want you to get out of coaching. I want you to get back into broadcasting. And so he told me to send him a tape of me doing a game. He said, even if you sit in front of a TV, just give me a couple innings of you doing play-by-play. And it just so happened. And again, I was totally anti-Cub for a long, long time. But while I was in college, before they built the suites at Wrigley Field, I went up to one of the catwalks and just had a table and a microphone and sat there and did some play-by-play of a Cub Cardinal game. And I think the Cubs lost that game 1-0 in 10 innings. And Rick Sutcliffe was a pitcher. I go back and look at the stat sheet every once in a while, the box score. And I did a tape of that game. It had, 35, 40,000 fans in the stands. Sounded pretty good. I didn't know how to edit, so I just sent the whole game to the owner. And funny story was, in the middle of one of the innings, one of the Andy Frayne ushers came up and said, "What are you doing up here?" And I said, "I'm play-by-play." I showed him my press pass, and he's like, "Oh, okay." Well, that was I knew the owner listened to the game because he asked me about that
Yeah.
in the interview. So that was how I got the Cougar job, though, and ultimately then that led to the White Sox, which led to the Tampa Bay Rays.
Hey, listen, if I can give an opinion, I'm getting old. And as I get old and I really, really love the game, I find myself drifting towards writers, broadcasters who bring love out and show that they're having fun doing it. And I want to tell you that you and Andy do that, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Anybody who's a baseball fan knows that listening to a ball club on the radio is what keeps you tight with it. And you got the team here has it, and you guys are great. I just wanted to quickly say that.
Thank you. And Andy, I steal a couple lines from Andy, but one of the number one lines he used a long time ago was, "We just try to be good company." And
Right.
the other thing that we talk about is we may not lead the league in wins, but we're going to lead the league in fun. And one of the things I always try to do is, I try to get Andy to laugh and have, almost to the point where he has to shut his mic off. We take what we do seriously, but we don't take ourselves serious.
Exactly.
We make sure we get the job done. This is not the Dave and Andy show. This is Dave and Andy doing Tampa Bay Rays baseball. And I hope it plays out that way. It's the ultimate compliment, I think, to both Andy and I, when fans, and especially baseball fans, say what you just said. I mean, scouts come up to us all the time and say that they listen to us while they're in the seats and how much they enjoy the ball game. So when real baseball people, I love it when anybody says it, obviously, but when real baseball people say it, really, it just means a bit more. And, when I was getting ready for this, the gathering here today, I kind of went back, and there's a great poster in Minneapolis in their new ballpark of Herb Carneal, their longtime play-by-play announcer. And it says, he was there when, and, like you said about baseball on the radio, there are some people which blow me away that will listen to a radio game and hear every single syllable that we spit out for 3.5 hours. And I can't believe how they do it. I really don't, because I can't stand listening to myself for 3.5 hours. But, that's one of the beauties about radio too, is that on TV, if you say something and you make a mistake, or you might say something later that you regret, they can hit the DVR button and rewind it and find it. And you can get, so the beauty of radio is, I don't think there are too many people actually recording the game. There might be, but with Herb Carneal, it was, he was there when you took out the storm windows. He was there when you lit the coals. He was there when you sorted your baseball cards. He was there when you drove to the cabin. He was there when you were supposed to sleep. And that's, one of the things that Andy and I kind of take, into our thought process, where every night too, there could be somebody different that's never listened to one of our games, even though we've been there now. This will be our 19th season. Believe it or not, there could be somebody who hasn't tuned in yet to Dave and Andy, and we treat it like again, it beats working for a living. I was just asked yesterday by somebody about my path to the booth, and did I want to be a broadcaster? No, I wanted to be the next pitcher. Actually, I wanted to be a basketball player for a long time. I wanted to be the next Larry Bird, but stopped growing at 6'1", and after playing my freshman year of college, and there was a picture of me guarding a guy with my nose and his number, I knew that basketball wasn't going to be and, played baseball at Elmhurst College for 4 years. And, Joe Girardi's 0 for 1 lifetime against me. I hold that against him all the time. 81 mile an hour fastballs don't quite cut it. So, the broadcasting part keeps me involved. I actually wanted to be a hockey announcer. I took French for a few years, and thankfully I don't have to learn it or, speak it anymore with our Montreal situation.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about that.
But at the end of the day, this beats working for a living. I worked in a steel mill. I bartended at bars till 4 a.m. I cleaned floors for Service Master. What I do right now beats working for a living. And I say I live in life's candy store. I get paid to go watch and talk about baseball. And I used to think that the best gig in the world would be to do hockey or basketball in Chicago, to work in the winter in Chicago and then have the summers off. I found a better gig. I worked the summers in baseball in Florida, and then I had the fall and winter off in Florida. And I'm living a dream. There's no doubt about it.
And you get to work indoors.
Well, I go from my air conditioned house to my air conditioned
Yeah.
and so it works out pretty good. And I just met with the new the guy who's the architect of the new ballpark possibly, and all I asked him for was a decent sized booth with good sight lines and maybe a couple of ceiling fans.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dixie, did you have a question? Your hand is up there.
Yes, I did.
Go ahead.
Dave, I live 1 mile away from a place that prints its own currency, Fenway Park. The people up here are pretty sure right now, most of them are pretty sure the Red Sox will finish 5th in the division. Could you make sure that happens?
We're going to do our darndest. I mean, they're one of the teams, though, for whatever reason, we can run prevent the Yankees and we can run prevent the Blue Jays, it seems. We have a tough time run preventing the Red Sox, although thankfully Xander Bogaerts won't be there. I know that I think if you picked a hitter that Kevin Cash would not want to see at the plate with a game on the line, Xander Bogaerts might be at the top of that list. So we're thankful that he's not going to be there. I mean, to me, and I have a love-hate relationship with a lot of people up there in Boston. I mean, I Joe Castiglione, admire the man, love the man, but then he can drive me nuts. Pete Abraham, who covers the team, same thing. But Chaim Bloom, I do love the man. I think Chaim's in a very, very tough spot. But at the end of the day, I think that for people who make fun of the Rays and what goes on, and we run into that a lot with Boston people, the Red Sox and their fandom have done everything you're supposed to do. They fill that ballpark up and pay incredible amounts of money to fill that ballpark up. They probably make more money on their pregame tours than we do for a regular game. The amount of money they pay to park, how hard it is to get to that place, to go to a game. And they've got their own TV network, and they've got the owner owns the newspaper. And yet you still can't keep the best players in the game, or a couple of the best players in the game, like Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts and a few other guys. So, if I'm a Red Sox fan, I think I can see why a lot of Red Sox fans would be pretty down on what's going on.
Well, there are many of them who want to drive Chaim Bloom back to Tampa.
Well, if it was all Chaim, I agree with you, but I think Chaim's kind of taking the sword for a few people that are above him.
Yes.
Not kind of taking the sword. He's taking the sword for a lot of people that are above him.
Well, for 30 years, I had 4 seats behind the visitors' dugout, 10 rows from the dugout. I was closer to the third baseman than the second baseman was.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time that I gave up the tickets 5 years ago, they were costing me $45,000.
It's incredible.
Wow.
One of my really, really good friends was the same way with the Cubs. He was spending, this was like about 7 or 8 years ago when he finally stopped. And his last bill for 4 tickets at about the same spot at Wrigley was about $45,000 a year. I mean, that's a really, really huge chunk of change. And, I went to one Bucks game this year, and and again, I hope nobody's recording this. It's a tongue firmly planted in cheek, but I always joke, people say to you, what do you think? I said, I become spoiled. I got my own parking spot. I don't have my own elevator, but very few people can use it. I can get up to where I got to go, and I got my own booth with a lot of room. Well, I went to a Bucks game and parked a mile away, paid $40 for the parking spot, walked in the dark to get into the ballpark or into the football stadium. Was spending $9 or $14 for a beer and doing whatever. I mean, I tip my cap to our fans, all fans that still go to these games. It costs an arm and a leg to be a sports fan. It's not easy to be a sports fan, and it's going to be interesting to see. I know when I first started doing this back in 2005 with the Rays, we had a guy who was our stadium ops guru, and he was one of the best in the country at it, Rick Nate, God bless his soul. He kind of felt that maybe within, maybe not our lifetimes, but somewhere in the near future, 25, 30 years from now, he wouldn't be surprised if this becomes studio sports because of the way TV is and the cameras, and where, you can probably start making it where, they're probably going to start charging pay-per-view a little more. And instead of worrying about getting 30,000 people in the ballparks or 40,000 people in the ballparks, put 75 cameras in for a game and make it feel like it's being played in your living room. So, who knows if something like that is on the horizon. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. But I tip my cap to fans who do what they do to come out to games. Cashless things, not having the actual ticket in your hand anymore. I mean, that was a huge thing to be able to have the actual, I got a picture, a mirror right there of the first ticket from Kane County from 1991. I mean, I had tickets from White Sox games and Blackhawk games as kids. To not have the hard ticket nowadays, it really kind of,
It's on your cell phone.
kind of hurts. Yep.
It's on your
Doesn't feel
cell
the same
phone.
though.
Yeah.
What are the two biggest reasons why you guys cannot draw more than 12,000 people a game?
Again, I think location's one, and I think laziness is another. I think there's a passion that's involved in sports, and I think that it's still it's one of those things where we've got people who have moved here. Anything over 20 minutes commute. I could be as wrong as the day is long, but I've kind of seen it firsthand where if it takes more than 20 or 25 minutes to get somewhere, they just don't go. And we're such a spread out region here because of the water, because of the bridges, that I think a lot of people, just their passion for the Rays and where we're at in St. Pete hurts. I think somebody brought up a great point too the other day where, baseball's more of has always been kind of like the sport where you sat next to your dad at a baseball game. And so when your dad was rooting for the Detroit Tigers or the Boston Red Sox, you rooted for the Detroit Tigers or the Boston Red Sox, or the Cubs or the White Sox. People go to Lightning games. I mean, I know it happened because it happened to me. I became a Blackhawks season ticket holder, but you don't hear those stories about dad bringing little Tommy to a Blackhawk game or a Red Wing game or a Ranger game or whatever. And I think that, there's not that huge passion for a lot of these guys with hockey as there is with baseball. And I think that location's a big part of it. It's an easy ballpark to get to. Parking is a piece of cake. There's all kinds, like I said, there's plenty of room in that ballpark. A ballpark, though, shouldn't be the reason why you go to a game solely, but it shouldn't be the reason why you don't go to the game. And I think the Trop got a bad rap for a while there. I think that over these last decade or so, I think this ownership group has dressed that place up as well as it's going to be dressed up. I don't think we get our message out as well about that ballpark. We got some great food out there. I think that could be improved. We've upgraded the video board this offseason. I say this too, is that if the Lightning would have done something like that, there probably would have been 7 media press conferences to talk about how their video board now has been spruced up to 2000, DP or whatever. And we didn't even put a note out yet on that. So I think that location and laziness play into why a lot of people don't come out. And I think a big part of it too is that Andy and I are too good that people just figure they can stay home and listen to
That's
it.
what it is.
Well, hey, Dave, you're so right. First of all, I'm one of those who loves the Trop. I love the food. I think they do a great job. What I don't love is my hike from the game to the car, and from the car to the game, especially when it's 99 degrees outside and pure humidity. That's something that to me was never really addressed. And with the new, hopefully a new stadium or a new situation, whether it be in Tampa or St. Pete or wherever, that's something that really should be addressed. At 65 years old, I don't feel like making that hike. It's too damn hot.
It's and I think that that's something that we're trying to figure out here too with this whole urban thought process of, building the ballpark within a bunch of, buildings where we're not going to have the massive parking lots surrounding the ballpark like we do right now. So, all right, you have a parking garage that's 2 blocks away. Are people going to want to walk to 2 blocks to get to the ballpark, which then maybe turns into 4 blocks if it's on the other side of the ballpark? I mean, all these plans look beautiful and they're nice. And they talk about how the Lightning get people walking around. Well, it's 65 degrees and it's not like the 95 degrees with a potential thunderstorm coming down at any minute. So, is that going to come into play? That's another one of the reasons why, 10 years ago, I loved the urban thought process because I thought that was the way to go to, build some restaurants and bars and have it kind of intertwined in that. Now I'm thinking, have it where maybe, like I said, where the casino, where the Hard Rock is and where the amphitheater is and the fairgrounds, and you build some parking towers right next to the ballpark that are connected between the casino and the ballpark, where they're covered, where, you know, you're out of the elements a little bit. And, you know, it protects the fans. That I think what's going to hurt is you can park at the end of a parking lot at Tropicana Field right now, and in your mind, you see the ballpark and it's right across the street. So in your mind, you're thinking the ballpark's across the street, even though it is maybe a 2 or 3 block walk and 1,000 steps. When you really do have to park 3 or 4 blocks away, that might play against us. So we'll have to wait and see how this all does come into play, and hopefully smarter people than me figure this all out, because you know, I truly do believe that baseball can work in this market. We got people that watch it. We got people that listen to it. We got people that talk about it on social media. Our numbers are as good as a lot of teams out there. We just do not get the fannies in the seats. And I think a team that has done what it's done over the last decade, outside of a couple of years, deserves to have in those seats.
I agree. Anybody else? Dave, you've been great. Thank you so much.
Oh,
You
you're
made
welcome.
11 geeks and junkies very happy tonight. We really appreciate
Well, the
you.
pressure was on. You know, and it's like I said, you guys are at a higher level. I mean, I can usually baffle them with a little BS, but I knew I had to be at a little different level with really
Just-
good baseball people. So,
Dave, we're just old. That's all.
Well, that's,
well, I appreciate you guys having me. This really was a lot of fun, and whether we can do it again virtually or in person, and anytime one of you guys, if you do come to a ball game, you know, let one of the usher or what fan hosts know, and I'd love to come down and, you know, at least just say hi and meet you guys in person. This was really
We're
was a lot of
definitely going to hold you to that.
please.
We're planning an outing at the Rays, and we'll see you then.
Let me know when you guys do it, and maybe Andy and I will come down for a little pregame chat. So
Thank
that'd
you
be
so
great.
much,
That would
Dave.
be terrific. Thank you
You're
very much, Dave. I really
You're welcome.
appreciate that
thanks, Dave.
you came
Yeah.
by, and I wanted to thank my friend Michael Caragliano, who
Please.
who set up the meeting between me and Dave to get out.
Please get the best. Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks again for.
All right, guys. See you later.
Be well,
Take care.
Dave.
Thanks,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Yeah.
Steve, great job.
Oh, outstanding.
Yep. You know, definitely a home run. Getting Dave, and really enjoyed
What a nice guy. What a
every,
nice
oh
guy.
yeah.
I
Class
never
act.
met him before in my life. I just, like I said, I got lucky that my friend Mike is in a really good position to be able to do that. He'll be able to get Andy too.
Outstanding.
Class act. Well
Hey,
done.
Mark, can I jump in and make a quick mention of a couple of books?
Sam, go.
Yeah, the first is, and this is based on you and what you had said about minor leagues.
Yeah.
Roger Kahn, the guy who wrote Boys of Summer,
Yep.
I think in the 70s or the 80s, he bought into a small, I think it was an independent minor league team up in upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote a book about the season called Good Enough to Dream. If you haven't read it, you will enjoy that greatly. And I'd recommend it to anybody here.
Thank you.
Well, I just finished John Feinstein's
Yeah.
Where Nobody Knows Your Name. It was very good. I also finished Bums by our friend Peter Gollenbach.
Uh-huh.
Terrific. You know, Gollenbach's he goes from one extreme to the other with his books, with the Greg Nettles and Sparky Lyle books, to very serious books. And
Mhm.
Bums was obviously a more serious book. And that guy can write. He's just amazing. You know, I'm so happy that he's part of our group.
So listen, the second one, everybody, 100 Years, read Rick Vaughn's book. Rick, I just, and you and I met briefly when you had the thing at the St. Pete History Museum.
I remember.
You were kind enough to say hi to me for a moment or so. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And let me tell you guys, this is a love letter to Al Lang Field and to baseball on the waterfront. And we miss that now because the soccer team is down there, and I've been down and I watched the soccer team and I like it. But boy, oh boy, Rick, I just really, really enjoyed it. And I just wanted to say that, and everybody should read it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because I just want to mention something before we go. I wrote a piece in the Tampa Bay Times on Sunday in the opinion section.
Oh,
And I'll send it to the group if you can read it or not, but it basically is trying to get the city to do a better job of memorializing the history down there on the front. And I know you guys are probably aware what just happened over in Daytona Beach recently, where SABR got behind the project there. And after however many years it was, 1946 is when Jackie Robinson practiced on that field. And they finally, just 4 months ago, recognized that this was a historical,
unbelievable.
area, right? And so I'm really, this editorial that I wrote on Sunday is really hoping to push them a little bit. And I know SABR will get behind it. I'm sure that you guys will. And I really like to at least see, a historical marker there. I'd really like to see more than that when you consider the history. And I had so much fun writing that book because I didn't, I was a PR director for the Orioles. We trained there. I was a PR director for the Rays. We trained there. And I didn't know anything about, really about the history like I should have. And I had so much fun uncovering all that stuff from basically 1922 up until, the Cardinals, the Rays actually through 08. But the history there is amazing. We're sitting on something that we should all embrace and try to get the city to. And I know they've got a lot of baseball on their plate right now, but I'd love to see them get behind it and try to do something similar to. I don't know if you've seen what they did up in Tinker Field in Orlando. They have a really cool plaza up there. It's not very big, but it took me 30 minutes to go through it because there's so much stuff that they've put out. And then I helped the city of Clearwater with what they did over at Jack Russell, and it's kind of a monument park there. That's not quite as extensive as Tinker Field, but it's really cool. And I don't think it really. We're talking about a huge expenditure, and I'm also thinking that we could fundraise and get, the Yankees and the Cardinals and the Braves and the Rays and the Mets involved in maybe giving us a donation to try to get something built there. But that's just something that I wanted to bring up. And thank you, Sam, for mentioning that.
Absolutely.
Well, if I could build upon that for a second, I had a discussion yesterday. Those of you who were there at the museum, I made mention of the fact I'm working on trying to bring the Other Boys Summer documentary to this area.
Oh, sweet.
And I did have a conversation with the mayor's office yesterday. They acknowledged receiving my letter. They are definitely interested and will be back in touch with me, but they're still working their way through the backlog of notes they got over the holidays. I also sent the letter to Brian Old and Silverman of the Rays, okay? Because to get the program probably would cost us $5,000, which is not all that much if they pooled their interest. But I think that would tie in perfectly with Rick's doing, because if we were able to bring that here, could do a whole honorarium about the baseball in this area, so we could build upon it. So hopefully something good come out of it, and then I may touch base with you.
That's awesome.
Oh, Bobby, anything I can do to help that, please let me know,
Will
because
do.
I'm so behind that. I agree with
Yep.
you.
Yep.
So, hey, we're scheduled to get together at the Tampa Baseball Museum. I tip my cap here. Is that correct?
Yes, Thomas, you want to weigh in on this?
Yes, we are definitely getting ready to meet up there on the 4th. So we're gonna do that on the 4th. I'm gonna go down there either this weekend or next weekend to schedule, face to face, make sure everything is kosher and everything. We could just go on over there. Perhaps we could grab some food afterwards and speak of all these ideas that we got right here.
Love to.
Sure.
Yes, definitely need to get another face to face because there's just so many ideas, and like Bobby says, that we could mix them all together and put them together.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea. I saw that thing about the grants, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to use that thing if we don't run out of time. I saw that email and I really didn't know what to do with that, how it could be used. So I think this would be working out just great. I just hope we don't run out of time. I know there was a deadline.
Yeah, and first of all, I want to give Thomas a big shout out. On Saturday, we went to Little Cooperstown, and we had a great time. And Thomas organized that, getting us there. And I want to give Bobby Salerno a big shout out. He saved us all bucks
Yes,
by taking us in as his guest on his pass.
Attaboy,
And
Bobby.
we definitely, yeah, attaboy for sure. But we had a great time. And then Thomas, the beer place that we met at the month
Yes.
before,
Oh, the Peepaws?
Peepaws. There was only 4 of us, Don, Thomas, myself, and Steve
Steve.
were there, and we had a great time. Just the 4 of us talking baseball and shooting shit. And we didn't stay for a long time. It wasn't like it was 6 hours. It was like an hour, hour and a half or so. And we had great conversation. And I really think, we're on the right track now with doing a Zoom virtual meeting once a month, and then doing an in-person meeting once a month,
Yeah.
where we can just sit around and kick things around and,
Yeah.
have a good time.
maybe we could
So,
figure out an eatery, where to, and remember to take a picture. We said we were gonna take a picture.
Yeah, we
We
forgot,
took
Steve.
4 of us. There were 6 of us, right? You said 5? I thought there was 6 of us.
7.
No, there was 6 of us on Saturday.
Yeah,
There were
yeah.
4 of us at Peepaws, but you're right. We were going to take a picture, and I'm
I
thinking
took
to
a picture
myself,
of 4 of us, and you and somebody else left early, so.
yeah.
I
So
think that was the better looking for.
Oh, no doubt. There's no
I
doubt about
agree.
that, but I wanted to keep that quiet. Okay.
Shrek agrees.
Hey, Steve, if I can make a quick suggestion, and I do confess, full disclosure, it's only about 10 blocks from my house. But El Cap on 4th Street in St. Pete is one of the really great places to go.
Yep, that's a good
And has
place.
a deep baseball connection.
That's awesome. I really,
Pam,
I've
what's
been
the
around.
parking lot there?
Not a problem.
There's a reasonable small lot that's
Yeah.
in off of 4th Street about a block. Yeah, it's not terrible.
It's not bad. It's not
Okay.
bad.
No, not bad at all.
And the one thing we found out is, since we're a bunch of old cockers, we go early. We get there, 4, 5, 6, whatever. We went to the Little Cooperstown at 2:00. But Peepaws, I think, Thomas, we did 6:00. And
I think it was 4. 4.
was it 4?
4
5?
because they had the food truck showed up at 5.
Oh, yeah. And it was happy hour too. And, for us old cockers, getting
Mhm.
2 beers for the price of 1 works. But that's, we go before the crowd, and we shoot the shit for an hour or 2, and we leave. And I think with February 4th coming, SABR Day, at the Tampa Baseball Museum / Roush-Lopez house, I think we should plan on going to that, and then maybe sitting down nearby for an hour or so.
Oh, we can
And,
find something on 7th Street, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So everybody who's here, Dixie, I know it might be a long trip for you, but we appreciate you being here for sure. Anybody want to add anything for the good of the order? Anybody have stuff to talk about?
Out of that, I mean,
All right.
I just
Well,
want to
it's-
tell you, Mark, that you actually asked really great questions of Dave. You really did a wonderful job.
Thanks.
I didn't have anything to add for the Tampa Bay things. I mean, I know my baseball history, but I'm not really that well versed on Tampa Bay. And you were really asking him the really good questions that I had no idea in my brain what to ask, even though I usually can hold a good interview. I had nothing in my head. So
Yeah, I
you
did a
great.
little bit of a list, and you know, guys, for what it's worth, if you look at their team, they're starting 8, you know, and even their 4 or 5 pitchers, okay? They're a very competitive team,
Yeah, they are.
very, very competitive. I think, you know,
You're in a tough
the-
division.
the toughest, one of the toughest divisions, and they'll challenge the Blue Jays and the Yankees if they stay healthy.
Yeah, it'll come
And
down to
these guys-
depth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and these guys keep growing, you know, these second, third, fourth year guys, they'll be tough. They'll be tough
Always,
in the
always.
small market. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them. I made a little checklist. There were some things I wanted to talk about. Dave was great. Steve, kudos for getting that done.
He's already called my cell twice, so I guess he's looking for some feedback.
he's wonderful. He really is.
Yeah, he really
I
was.
really enjoyed him.
And he, my friend Mike and Dave himself just said that Andy would like to do it too, so we can have another meeting with Andy. I've never done
That's,
it either, but I heard that he's willing to do it.
yeah, and that would be great, but let's spread them out a little. I do
I
have a couple.
agree. I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I have a couple of, I've been working on a couple of speakers, SABR people that wrote books.
Mhm.
We've got a couple of things scheduled for, I think, May is definite, February and May are definite. Thomas, what time on the 4th are we gonna meet there?
You guys want to do 2 like before?
Yeah, that's a perfect time for me.
Thomas, are they, is it open that day?
On
Or-
Saturdays? Yes.
Yeah,
Open
okay,
like
okay.
Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
Okay, not just opening to get us in, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Does the gentleman who was at our last meeting who worked there?
Yeah.
Does anybody remember him, have his name, contact info?
Sorry, no.
Oh, was it David?
Oh, boy.
I don't
I
know.
remember, because, yeah, I do remember.
I'd like to get a hold of him, add him to our roster of
Well,
emails.
since he works there, we can probably just call over there, find out who it is.
His name
Exactly,
is
Bobby.
Josh Weaver.
That's it.
Josh Weaver?
That's him.
Josh,
Okay.
okay.
I'll give a
Great.
call over there. Just,
All right, yeah,
Great.
give him a
Now-
call, let him know we're setting up the 4th.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe.
In
we can get
relation
a-
to going over there and depending where everybody lives, do we want to consider any type of carpooling to go all the way over there?
We can do that.
I'd be happy to take some people over, whatever.
That'd be
whatever.
great. That'd be
Sam, are
great.
you off that day or can you get off that day? I know you work Saturdays.
I actually work, and for those of you guys who don't know it, I work at the library in Tampa that's right downtown, John F. Germany.
Oh, you do?
And-
Huh.
So I may be working and I may be jumping over from work,
Okay.
but
That would be great.
that's to be worked out yet.
And also, guys, this week I sent out about 80 emails to people about the meeting. If you look on what I sent everybody,
Mhm.
there were 80 people tagged on the email. And the good part is some people did get back to me and said that they can't make this one, but they plan on making some. A young lady from Tampa, Michelle Taylor, contacted me today.
Hold
and
on,
she-
Dave. I'm sorry, Mark. Michelle Taylor.
Yes,
I think I went to school with her.
okay. She's a Florida Tampa girl.
Yeah, yeah,
The last name Taylor, you never know if it's the same person. It's a really common name.
yeah. Well, yeah. Wow. Okay. If this
But
is
she,
her,
Pretty
I
cool.
need to reach out.
and the other thing was I asked her to go to the Facebook page and like it and everything. And please, everybody go to the Facebook page, like it, and then have your friends or, whoever like it. Let's, get the social media thing going a little bit
Yeah,
better.
last night I invited 30 of my SABR members because
Good.
it's virtual, but obviously nobody showed up. So we'll keep trying.
You're trying.
Nah,
Keep at it.
hey, it's okay. We had a good crowd tonight. Everybody was into it. I really enjoyed it and we got good
Yep.
things coming.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
terrific.
All right. I'll see everybody on the 4th.
Vince's got
Gentlemen,
his hand raised if you want to
Gentlemen.
recognize him.
one last thing, sort of off topic, but as hard as this may be to believe, the Boston Bruins may be better than their record.
Oh, hold
And,
on.
and their minor league team is in first place in the AHL, in case they need somebody.
Wow.
Weren't they just in the Stanley Cups a few years ago? The Bruins.
Well, the Lightning took them out one year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
they've been
and
around.
yeah, give them a little love. Come on. They've fallen on some hard times this year and
But not this year, not the Bruins
Okay.
this year, no.
all right,
Okay.
no love. All
I hear
right.
you.
Hey, Mark.
Sam Rich.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
March or April? When are we going to get your presentation?
if it's gonna be in the evening, I guess it could be at your convenience.
Well, I know you said March, you're busy with spring training. Do you want
Well,
me to put it
spring training is over in the day.
right? Correct.
They're all day games and I don't travel. So I could do it really whenever you want.
All right, my friend, I'll put you on for March then.
Okay, do you have a date? A date? I prefer not a Wednesday. If that's,
Well, we're doing all our meetings Wednesday at 8 o'clock.
okay, then I'll work that out. 8 o'clock ought to be fine.
All right.
The
I
reason
appreciate it.
The reason I don't like to play on Wednesdays is I play bridge
Ah,
in
I
the afternoon.
understand. I get that.
It wears me down.
No, by 8 o'clock, he's busy counting his money, right?
Right,
That
right.
would wear
No,
me out. That would wear me out.
Sam, I'll give
Actually,
you plenty of notice. I'll give
I'm
you
very frustrated by
all the
8 o'clock.
info.
Mark, on the 4th, where's the meeting? Is it gonna be at the same place or?
The 4th of February, you're talking about?
Yes.
The 4th of February, we're at the
Is it the same
baseball,
place?
the Tampa Baseball
Yeah,
Museum.
Al Lopez Museum.
Al Lopez House, Tampa Baseball Museum. I just Google it.
Yeah, I think
And
it's,
Thomas, you
I'll
said
send
2
out another
o'clock, right?
list. I'll send something out.
All right,
With
good.
map.
2003
links.
North 19th? Is that what
Yeah.
that?
19th
I'll
Street,
put out
that's right.
some parking areas and everything too.
Yeah. It's right across from Centennial Park. Right
That
down
means
in
nothing to
Gable.
me. I know nothing about the area. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Mark,
Yes, Sam.
sometime between now and then, give me a call so we could talk about what your main areas of interest would be. I've written a couple of books myself, and I've worked on a few topics. So whatever you think the membership would be more interested in I'm pretty flexible.
I certainly will. We'll, as a matter of fact, maybe on the 4th, we'll talk about it a little bit and get some feedback. And I'll get back to you with it. I'll give you a call.
I could tell them about the baseball cocaine trial of 1985, in which I played a role. I could probably my best topic is the Hall of Fame. I wrote a book on that once. I gave a presentation to the Rotary Club at the beginning of the 22 season about Hall of Famers among us. I did that. So lots of possibilities.
I like that. I definitely like that, especially a few days, the 23rd, 24th, we'll find out who our new Hall of Famers are.
In addition to the Tampa kid.
Yeah, well, Roland and Helton, what do you think?
I
Yeah.
think Roland will be the one, I think, if based on the tracking that I see, But we got Fred McGriff in the bank already, so.
Yes, yes. And you guys know, like 2 years ago, I was vocal about why is Fred McGriff not in the Hall of Fame?
Yep.
But
And
so was I.
finally, an injustice has been
Yeah.
taken care of.
Well,
All right.
nobody else wanted to give him credit for those 15 home runs he hit in postseason to put him over 500.
Or all the strikes that happened during his career that he would have probably gotten the 15.
That's true. too.
You're right, Steve, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. They cut into it.
Absolutely.
That's something I'm waiting, if anybody knows of any books. Thomas, if you remember at the Little Cooperstown, we were talking about if Ted Williams or if Lou Gehrig, if Lou Gehrig didn't get sick, if he had finished his career and had 4 more years, okay, if Ted Williams had his military years back, how high they would have been compared to Mays and Aaron and
Well,
And-
Willie Mays lost time for the Army as well for
right.
Korea.
He was a year. Yeah, he was a year in the Army and then I guess half a year or something in the reserves. But
Mhm.
I mean, we're talking about Williams, obviously 4.5 years, and
That's a
Garrett.
big chunk of time.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
Garrett could have played, if Garrett could have played 4 to 5, let's just say 4 more years, and you prorated or did a percentage of how he played season by season, his numbers might have blown away, Ruth, Aaron, Mays, guy was amazing. And
Sounds like we're gonna have to play Stratomatic.
yeah,
up their
well,
seasons.
Bobby, to me, he doesn't get the love. I mean,
What
I
about
know
Bo
he's,
Jackson? What if Bo Jackson never got hurt?
yeah, I mean, Bo Jackson,
I'd
I
be more
know,
interested in Ken Griffey Jr.
well,
Oh,
yeah,
he's
exactly.
He's as good as anybody ever.
Griffey
Yeah.
Jr.'s Cincinnati years were not great. If he
Yeah.
had continued his Mariner years, he would have had some numbers
Well, somebody today, a friend of
better
mine,
than Bonds.
who was supposed to be on this meeting tonight, he said to me, if Albert Pujols hadn't been traded to the Angels, if he stayed with the Cardinals, he thinks that he would be like the leader in a lot.
That was his choice, though. Wasn't he a free
Of
agent?
course.
Oh, I didn't say that wasn't the point. The point was if he stayed, not
Yeah.
the fact that he was an idiot and didn't,
Yeah. All about the Benjamins, right?
Well,
Well,
the same thing with Prince Fielder.
this may not mean anything, but according to my research, it is not uncommon for a player to have one great decade and then play almost another decade not so great.
Hmm.
That happens. Carlos Beltran is a good example of a player who was great his first decade and not so great the second. It's not that unusual.
I think that most guys who vote would tell you that they're looking at an 8 to 10 year period, peak period. Because
That's
what
right.
you're saying,
Yeah.
Sam, is correct. It's
Yeah.
impossible to maintain that over 12, 15, or I don't say impossible.
But
Very
that's why Ted Williams is so compelling. It
There you
was
go.
right in the middle. He was great before and after.
Right,
Well,
exactly.
you would be surprised of the players who are out of the Hall of Fame, who are now eligible as veterans, the older group. You would be surprised at how many of them struggle to have 6 or 7 good
years.
how few of them that have more than 6 or 7 really good years.
Yeah.
It's a hard game.
Look, and then you look at the back of a Willie Mays or a Hank Aaron baseball card, and you see 15
Mhm.
years
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
Well,
hitting
they're
295 to 330.
They were
You
incredible.
know, it really is. And I've always thought, and I think I mentioned this when Cassidy lent was talking that, there are certain guys that are maybe in the Hall of Fame that should be considered, I don't want to say deity, but superstars, super Hall of Famers. And then there's the greats,
Yeah,
and then there's the goods.
right.
Okay.
And then there are a few who shouldn't be there.
Okay, well, agreed. Phil Rizzuto should not be there. I said it. Go
Uh,
ahead.
You know,
Chastise me.
I'm not a Yankee fan, but I got,
Mazurowski shouldn't be there.
he is
I
more
agree.
of a, what he contributed to a team rather than his individual stats. I think that's where he gets in because his stats individually don't add up to me.
Hey, there are those who would say Pee Wee Reese doesn't belong. There's some who would say Ron Santo doesn't belong. Okay, and these guys, that's why I said, and I know it'll never happen. It's a fantasy
Nah, they
that
don't
there
throw
would be a
people out.
tier system, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 at the Hall of
But
Fame.
then they'd argue that, and then they'd be like, should he be in tier 2 or tier 3? It would be the same argument you're having for whether he's in or out, whether he
Dan-
should be
Steve,
tier 2 or
we
tier.
know everybody who should be in tier 3. We
Well-
just mentioned some of them.
No, I'm not saying, but
The
I'm. talking
other
about the
Hall of
other
Famers should
tiers are a
vote
little
for the
tougher.
Hall of Fame.
Tier 1 is easy.
Yeah, well,
Tier 2 and 3 is a lot more difficult, Mark.
The other Hall of Famers should vote for who should be in the Hall.
But that's what the Veterans Committee, I think theirs has a lot of substance because those are guys who have a better feel than maybe the baseball writers. Some of the baseball writer decisions were so stupid. Some of those people who should have been totally unanimous and the guy said, well, I just didn't want him to be unanimous.
Yeah.
Right,
Somebody
Bobby, I agree
voted
100%.
against putting Ruth in.
Yeah,
Somebody voted against putting Ruth in.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Somebody else voted against putting Ty Cobb in.
Yeah,
Every
there was
player
somebody who-
that's in the Baseball Hall of Fame, except for Mariano Rivera, somebody said they're not good enough.
Yeah,
And
Even
wasn't
Ted
there somebody-
Williams.
Wasn't there somebody who Jeter, one person didn't vote?
Yeah.
for?
That's
One
right.
person.
Sure.
That's right.
That's
and that's
impossible.
all because he probably
It's
didn't
almost
like an interview.
impossible. Almost
But the-
impossible to get unanimous.
Don't knock Santo because he was on my list when I wrote my book.
Sam, I am not knocking Santo. I
I know
like
you're not.
Ron Santo. I liked him for the Hall of Fame. And he played on some terrific teams. I hated seeing him in a White Sox uniform. To me,
I
that
almost
was
forgot about that.
sacrilege.
Yeah, I agree.
That was sacrilege.
That's like Willie Mays in a Mets uniform.
Yeah.
Well,
I
Willie-
kind of liked it in '73 when he.
Yeah,
you,
Willie
Steve.
hated playing in San Francisco. Even
Did
though
you
he had
guys see
this-
that
He
special
hated
on
playing in
HBO
that.
Max about Mays?
Yeah.
Yes,
Uh,
right.
No.
what Joan Payson gave
Yep.
Willie Mays to come back to New York for 2 years?
I didn't
Yeah.
see that.
Loved him.
Oh, to take a look. She basically told him to write his ticket.
Yep.
She said, you write it down, I'll give it to you for 2 years.
Oh, God bless her.
And she was not a person who gave out money real
No, in
easily.
that era, you didn't. And if she had to continue on, she probably would have sold the team anyway.
Well, look, they let Seaver go to Cincinnati. That was insane.
Heartbreaking beyond belief.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Heartbreaking, just horrible.
Yeah.
And they did it. It was all about ego. It was M. Don LeGrand's ego and Seaver's ego, and it should never have happened, but it did.
Well,
Dick
Well,
Young's ego.
the Mets have a legacy of great deals. Bobby Bonilla.
oh, they're still paying him.
Yeah, well, so every year he says, "What the heck," and then he just gets his little check there, and
He's
says,
got an annuity until what, 2030?
I don't know.
Something like that.
It's soon.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got an annuity. He gets $1 million and something
Now,
every
wait.
year.
When
Time
they-
out, boys. Let me try and step in here for just a moment. And
Come on.
I think it's as ridiculous as the next guy, but I just want to give you the old Paul Harvey Rest of the story, okay? When they did that for Bonilla, they did it to essentially clear out space to be able to sign Mike Hampton.
Right.
If you remember that.
Yes,
Now, Hampton only stuck around for just the 1 year, I think.
He was there more than one, but not very much longer.
And then when he left as a free agent, they got compensatory picks. And do you know who they selected with the compensatory pick that they got from the Hampton thing?
I
you're
don't-
gonna tell us.
I'm going to tell you it's David Wright.
Oh, nice.
Really?
And so I know that it's a little tic-tac-toe to get there, but every time I hear about the Bonilla thing, I think about David Wright. And that's the way I think about it.
And Sam, I'll tell you this, okay? As far as I'm concerned, the last 4 years that David Wright was with the Mets, he stole money,
Yeah, he did.
okay? He should have
did.
stepped aside a
Absolutely.
long time before he did.
Yep.
Okay, he literally stole a salary that could have
Yeah.
helped that team, and it was a sin. Okay, but we see it over and over again this year with the 12-year deals and 13-year deals, and
Yeah.
it's
They get you
silly.
stealing money automatic, you know it before it happens. Yeah.
Well, you know that you're gonna get 5 or 6 good years, and then you're gonna
I
pay
know.
out the rear end for the next 5 or 6 good years.
Yeah.
You might be
Okay.
right,
Fine.
Mark, and I guess I won't argue it, but boy, I was excited when he hit a home run in the World Series for the Mets. My God. I
Well,
got
you know,
you.
my
According
understanding,
to Retro Sheet, Mike Hampton was with the Mets in the year 2000 only.
That's
Yeah,
right.
1 year,
Okay.
Oh,
just
it was
1
only
year,
1 year? I thought it was more.
1
than
year, 1 year.
2035 is the year that,
He won
Oh,
15 games that year.
2035? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
At
knew it
least they got
passed
lucky and Korea
2030.
went back to the Twins, because that would have been another terrible deal.
Yeah, oh, I agree. Bobby, as a Met fan, I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled. That would have been 12 years of misery.
Oh, my God.
my
listen-
understanding on the Bonilla contract
Hmm.
was that it wasn't as bad as it turned out, but he had a provision in there for deferred compensation. And
That's
when
right.
it came time to pay him, the owner ran into financial trouble because of his involvement with Bernie Madoff.
Right.
And he couldn't
Correct.
pay. And then they had to adjust, and the interest kept piling up and up and up. Now that's my understanding. I'm not a financial expert, but when they signed the contract, they had no idea it would be worth $1 million every year when he started to draw it, his deferred comp. No idea.
I
I
steal
don't
if
think
you
they're
can
worried
get
about
it.
the million every year now. It doesn't seem like as much money.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Some change now, yeah.
Well, I
What's a
think it's gonna
million?
run out. It's gonna run out soon. I think it's gonna run out.
2035, I just looked.
35.
Yeah, he truly is a bench player now.
Yes.
That's right.
And he doesn't take up a roster spot. Not bad, huh?
Well, I
There you
gotta
go.
Listen,
cut out
fellas,
there.
I gotta beg out. I gotta take off. All right.
See you, Sam.
Okay,
I
Sam,
really
take
enjoyed it.
care.
Great to see everybody.
All
Thanks,
right,
Sam.
good job, everybody.
Mark.
Thank you all
Okay.
very much. Again, Thomas, Saturday was beautiful. Steve getting Dave Wills was great.
Yep, yep.
Thanks, Bobby, for getting
I'll
us
see- I'll
in
see
for
what else I
free.
can
That
do in
was
the
great.
future.
Rick Vaughn, be well.
Yes, thank
Don,
you.
Dixie, thank you again. Ryan, I'll see you next time.
If you guys don't
Okay.
mind, I'm gonna send you that editorial that ran this weekend.
Oh,
if you
that's
don't
great.
mind. Okay,
Excellent.
just the group
Great.
here. Okay,
Thank you.
Great.
see you guys.
All right,
Take care.
everybody be
Yeah.
well.
Bye.
Thank you, Rick.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yeah, doing it right now.
Now, how do I get out?